Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. In my videos, I use both Vedic and traditional Western techniques with tropical astrology, not sidereal astrology. I also use the traditional system of whole sign astrology for my analysis. You can use this video to the best of your advantage by listening to the introduction to understand what the week holds for you, and then going to the timestamps for your sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more personalized forecast for the week ahead. Astrology is not designed to scare you. It's designed to give you information so that you know what the good and the challenging energies in the week ahead will be, and you can therefore consciously work with them to the best of your advantage. Remember, knowledge is power. Now, there are scammers about, and so if you should receive a message from me on any platform requesting your money for a reading, know that it is a scam. Report them immediately. And now settle in and let's see what the astral skies have in store for the week ahead. Hello astrology lovers, so great to be with you looking at the energies of this week, the first week of July, and what they're going to bring us. Now before I begin, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to go into the draw to win a solar return report for yourself for July, and the June winner of the solar return report for the month of June is actually Ms. Manny N. Now, I'll spell that for you. N, so it's at capital M, lowercase s, capital M, A-N-N-Y, N. So if you are Ms. Manny N, then you have won yourself a solar return report from Guiding Star Astrology. All you need to do is head to the contact form at the website, links in the description below for the website, and simply let me know that you're the winner and we'll make some arrangements for your solar return report to be sent to you. Very exciting. Don't forget everyone, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment in the comment section to say you've done so in order to win a solar return report for the month of July. So this week's energy focus, we're going to be exploring the energies that are at play this week in the sky, the dates they're going to be happening and what they might do in your life on those dates or around those dates. And then we're going to focus on one particular energy, a very important energy, and determine how that's going to affect your sign. So let's see what's playing out this week. Well, the first energy is Neptune retrograde. Now, this is happening on the 3rd of July in Australia, 2nd of July in most other parts of the world. And Neptune retrograde happens pretty much once a year when the sun moves roughly in a trine position. Here's the sun in Cancer from our Neptune, which is located at the 29th degree of Pisces at the moment. And so we've got this trine energy, and basically Neptune will be in retrograde from the time that the sun is in this sign of Cancer, trining Neptune, all the way around to when the sun is in Scorpio and makes another trine to Neptune, and then Neptune will move more into direct mode. That's how it works. But what does it mean on the ground for us in our lives? Well, Neptune is misty. That's the word for it. Misty, both astronomically, like physically in the sky, and astrologically as well. So this giant blue planet is full of mists and vapors and clouds. That's the way it is in reality, and that's as above so below. That's how it is for us experiencing Neptune energy here on the planet. So whenever this giant blue planet goes retrograde, that means it's at its closest proximity to the Earth, and therefore its influence is amplified for we small earthlings here on the planet. So we get almost a dose too much of Neptunian style energy, and this results in us feeling more vague. We can lose the usual clarity with which we manifest our longings. It can make us far more sensitive, so do be careful around any escapist practices like alcohol, drugs, caffeine, even overindulgences that we do to sort of tap out of the world. And there's a huge energy on the planet at the moment for just wanting to escape. I mean, the world is going down the toilet, it seems, on the surface very fast, and we want to run away, we want to escape. So make sure if you're in that escapist, I've got to get out of here mode, that it's in healthy ways. Escape into good novels or great movies, or going out in nature and just getting away from the ordinary everyday in some way. Sleeping is another great way to escape during Neptune retrograde as well. Let's try not to, my friends, give in to the fears and phobias that might arise during Neptune retrograde, where those fears and phobias tend to be a lot more pronounced. Difficult times. Now, on that topic, you might want to check out a video that David Warner Matheson and I have recently done, where we talk about some of the current overarching big picture influences that are unfolding on the planet and the hope in the middle of those big picture influences. Do check out our recent video together on David Warner Matheson's channel. Also, I did a wonderful video last week with Crassia Tassio, where we're looking at the astrology of the coming 6 months to even a couple of years, and what is going to be unfolding. And once we see things with clarity, then we can make clearer choices, clearer decisions about life. And so that's why we as astrologers put forward these ideas. You can, listen to your heart, ascertain if what we're saying really aligns with you or not. But we put forward these ideas so that you can live with more clarity about your life and about the decisions you're going to make in the light of what's unfolding on the planet. This is what I call world predictions or mundane astrology. So I suggest checking out that video if you didn't do so last week on my channel, on my Astro Weather Report playlist and astrology discussions playlist. You'll be able to find that there. But those sorts of videos where there's big picture look at things, where there's clarity around why things are the way they are, they help us during Neptune retrograde times, especially when we're going through such a difficult period on the Earth. Understanding why, understanding the astrological influences as to why really does help. The more we can gain clarity during Neptune retrograde, the better off we can be, and the less Neptune retrograde can influence us in the negative. Now, some of the positive things about Neptune retrograde energy, when Neptune is closest to the Earth and therefore at its strongest, is that our psychic intuition can really increase and we feel more connected with the astral plane. So for the next 5 months or so while Neptune is retrograde, we might be getting more vivid dreams. It pays to note them down. Write down the messages that you get from spirits. Keep an eye out for omens and signs from the universe, because they're going to be stronger now. And if you're spiritually inclined, or if you're creatively inclined, or if you're a more mystical type of soul, then Neptune retrograde means your time has come. The juices are flowing now under this energy. The inspiration is in abundance, and potential spiritual bliss is closer than you've ever dreamed, during this time. So all we've got to do is reach out for it. So if you're into sort of connecting with the divine in a very ethereal way, and you'd have practices around that, or you like to sort of immerse yourself in creativity, it helps you tap out and escape in a beautiful, healthy way, then this is the time to go for it. Enjoy those connections with the divine. Enjoy that creative flow. This Neptune retrograde comes in a lot stronger and helps us to attain those vibrational levels a lot easier. As I said, this energy will be active for roughly 5 to 6 months. I'll put a big R next to Neptune. Retrograding from the 29th degree, the last degree of Pisces, and heading back. And so we're moving away from this anaretic degree. We spoke about this with Crassie last week, and all the things that the anaretic Neptune can sort of instigate. We're going to move away from that and catch our breath for a while before Neptune will make another venture back there to the latter degree of Pisces at some time in 2025 next year. Okay, so that is happening on the 2nd in most parts of the world and the 3rd of July in Australia. What else is happening this week? Well, we have Mercury in creating a trine at the 29th degree of Cancer with Neptune, 29 degrees here. So how good does it feel, when you're in that zone of flow, when the creative juices are flowing and you're moving through life in a dreamy fashion, there's music on every street corner and messages from spirit are coming through loud and clear and understandable. Don't you just love those sorts of days? Well, This day, also the 2nd of July in most parts of the world, 3rd of July in Australia, this day is fashioned in heaven just for you. So creative projects are going to flourish around this time. Spiritual endeavors are going to blossom like the apple trees in spring, and your imagination is going to be able to sprout new ideas in the soil of a content and happy mind, a dreamy mind. So enjoy, dance, and be blessed, my friends. You could even, if you wanted to, celebrate Neptune retrograde energy for all the good things that it's likely to bring. Then also on the 2nd of July in most parts of the world, 3rd of July in Australia, Mercury is going to move into Leo. So when Mercury is in Leo for roughly just under 30 or so days, words take on some significant authority. We're really paying attention now, and we feel the impact of people in our lives through the words they speak. So we're listening, we're taking on board what people say, we're more serious, if you like, about what people are saying. It has more meaning, it has more impact. But we have to be very conscious about the words that we say during this transit. No matter how well intentioned, sometimes when Mercury is transiting Leo, our words can come over as arrogant if we're not duly considering what we're saying and evaluating what we're saying first. You know, the shadow side of Leo energy is pride and arrogance. And we don't want our words to have that impact on people. We want our words to be the positive energy of Leo, which is words that bring warmth, words that bring inspiration, words that bring love. Leo is an energy of love, a loving energy. So consider what you're saying, what you're writing to people, how you're interacting with people during this time. Evaluate it. Is this message I'm sending tinged with love? Is it tinged with a kingly nobility energy of Leo? Are my words warm and embracing rather than arrogant and I know best and you'll all just have to do what I say kind of energy? But the more likely scenario while Mercury is moving through Leo is that we have the ability to win people over because we use warmth, because we use creative flair in what we say and how we speak. Our creativity peaks now. Ideas are flowing now. Again, another reason why this is a powerful time for creativity. Our intellect, creative intelligence is a Leo energy. Our intellect is shining. And so what is not to love about these first few days of the week? You're going to be very, very spiritual, very creative, and very loving and warm. I love this energy. Also, everything's happening on the 2nd of July, or 3rd if you're in Australia. We have what is quite a breath of fresh air for those of us with heavy Venus-Saturn connections in our natal chart, and for everyone really. But we're going to be having a Venus down here at 18 degrees roughly of Cancer. Venus is going to be trining Saturn in Pisces. Now, my friends, it's not often that these two energies get all lovey-dovey with one another, but this day is the day. So early this week is going to be so promising and full of blessing for us. This is a good day for committing to a partner for the long term. So those of you who are getting married, good choice. Venus in a trine to Saturn means that the energy is, the union is going to be lasting. It's also an energy for feeling more solid with your existing partnerships, more grounded with one another, more invested in one another, more committed with one another. It just flows easily, these mature energies of relationship that we desire. It's also a great energy for setting in place some long-range financial goals or investments, especially any goals or investments that are of the conservative low-risk type. So I'd encourage you, do some budgeting under this energy, because it will help you to set instead some good practices, how you budget on this at this time. Also, you know, if you are launching a business or starting a new practice, this energy is actually quite helpful. You mightn't have the immediate skyrocket to fame and glory straight away with your new business, but what will happen with a Saturn trine to Venus in the chart of your new business is that the potential of your business is going to grow steadily, one foot after another, solidly, year after year, until it reaches a high level of perhaps profitability or notoriety. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. Remember the old Pantene ad? That's what this is all about. It's that slow but steady and sure building towards prosperity. So a good time to review your financial goals and set in place some new financial investments. Now, we've talked a lot about the level of creativity that's present on this day, the 2nd or the 3rd, depending where you are in the world. But this energy between Venus, which is a creative planet, and Saturn, which is a structural planet, brings structural creativity to the peak of our expression. So it's time to hire that architect. It's time to work with a terrific jeweler to design that ring. It's time to connect with a seamstress on this day. You're going to get great results. Anyone who does structural creativity, industrial design or garden design, somebody who is doing structured design, is somebody that you should be working with under this energy. Or if you work in those fields, you can have an increase in success and productiveness and creative flair under this energy. So for those of us who are not in those fields or dealing with people in those fields, we're going to be able to express our own, practical creativity on the 2nd or 3rd of July and be very satisfied with the results. You need to design a logo or a website, something like that. This is a great energy for doing that for yourself. Now, moving along, on the 3rd of July in most parts of the world, 4th of July in Australia, we're going to have Mercury in opposition to Pluto. Uh-oh, here we go. It's our first nasty energy of the week. What a kicker. Sigh, everybody. You may need to brace yourself for this one because competition really amps up in the realms of advertising and marketing, small business administration. When we're doing those things, it feels intense and overwhelming. If you're having to deal with counsel, if you're having to deal with people in power over you and you're trying to sort things out, it can feel heavy and obstacle-ridden and difficult. If you're trying to advertise something, if you're trying to promote something, it just feels like there are blockages. Not that Pluto is a planet of blockages, but he certainly is a planet that doesn't make it easy for us. So my question to you, my friends, is do you work in Mercury-based fields, mercurial fields, trades, buying and selling, insurance, general business, private business activity, accountancy, administration, journalism, writing, public speaking, facilitation, or even general workshops or teaching? Now, if you are in those fields, and most of us are these days, then don't be surprised to see some sort of manipulation happening in those industries, or power struggles, or underhanded tactics occurring either directed to your business or in your workplace in those fields on this day, the 3rd of July or 4th of July if you're in Australia. Do you work in Pluto-related fields? Psychological counseling, grief counseling, working in a funeral home, working in waste management. If you're a shaman or a past life regression practitioner, if you're a spy or a criminologist, if you're a heavy researcher for your occupation, get my words out. If you're in the renovation industry, if you work in archaeology, these are Pluto-related fields, then you might encounter trouble with contracts on this day, or communications might go awry on this day. Technical services, internet services, and general communication might be problematic. There can be misunderstandings. So I share this with you not to scare you, my friends, but to help you be forewarned and forearmed. Now, I also mentioned before that starting a business with a trine between Venus and Saturn is a good thing, but starting a business with a Mercury opposite to Pluto, not so good. So weigh up. Is this the best time for you or not? Do you want this kind of energy of Pluto-Mercury opposition present in your new business, even if it means, Saturn-Venus trine is present? Or would you be better to wait till both energies are blown over a little and you're not going to get the bad along with the good? You're going to get something a bit more steady, so to speak. It's up to you. All right, and then on the 5th of July, in most parts of the world, 6th in Australia, we're going to be having a new moon forming here with the sun and the moon coming together at 14 degrees of Cancer. And I talk all about this for all signs on my Patreon family. Do join the Patreon family. We have so much fun there. I share so much information every month. It's part of the gratitude economy. I love being part of that. I give back more, or I give more to my patrons. I pray for them every day, and they support me through being a member of the Patreon family for as little as $3.50 a month. What a bargain. You can't even buy coffee for $3.50. Now this moon that's forming, which I talk all about for each sign at the Patreon family, is probably, I would suggest, the most karmic new moon of the year. It's making a square to the nodes. I'll talk more about this in the video about this particular new moon. And that makes it out of the ordinary. It makes it very karmic. And it's also wedged, but it's a new moon wedged between two full moons in Capricorn. So the trine to Saturn that is forming here as part of this moon should also give us the maturity and the strength to endure whatever is unfolding karmically for us. It might even give us some karmic progress for good. But the emotionalism of the moon in Cancer will tend to go to a whole new level. Be forewarned and forearmed about that, my friends, and have some practices for balance and self-kindness, gentleness and patience ready for yourself and for those around you. Now, as I said, I'll talk more about the other things tying into this moon in the Patreon family video, so do join me there, where we break it down for all signs. And now we're going to break it down for all signs about the major energy this week, Neptune going retrograde. So Neptune is going retrograde in Pisces, my friends. Beautiful, watery, ethereal Pisces. You're kicking it off today. Neptune is retrograding at 29 degrees of Pisces. If you happen to have your rising degree or your sun or your moon at 29 degrees, you're going to feel it more than anything. But if you have your rising or sun or moon in any degree of Pisces, this is the section where we talk about how it's going to affect you. Neptune retrograde in the first house of self can make us very vague about what we want. We don't really know, do I want to start that business, or do I want to go on a holiday there? I don't really know. I'm trying to decide. I can't decide. It feels like I don't really know where my heart is at, but maybe you decide you're going to give something a go even though your heart's not quite sure. You can do that, absolutely, but there's a real lack of clarity with Neptune in the first house. Again, we have this heightened sensitivity, and in the first house of you, Pisces, you might be feeling even more sensitive than you usually are. Pisces is the most sensitive sign of the horoscope. We're very tuned in to ethereal energies, to the general feeling of the masses, and this is why a lot of Pisces people like to retreat from society, because we feel the general collective drive and the general collective movement, and if it doesn't align with our personal morals or our personal beliefs, it's difficult to be in society amongst people who think differently, or amongst people with a different morality to ours. And so we want to pull away. And this is amplified during Neptune retrograde, where we're much more sensitive to those sorts of things. And because we're so sensitive, we can have heightened fears, heightened paranoia. This doesn't impress me much because, I am a worrier. I have Mercury sitting with Saturn, which is a combination for worry. They're both sitting on the fixed star Sirius, which is also, Saturn with Sirius is also an energy for over worry. So I'm not looking forward to Neptune retrograde from that end as a Pisces rising person, because it's going to amplify my worries and paranoias about what's happening in the world and in my family and blah, blah, blah. But at least I know why and where it's coming from, and I can even perhaps do something about it. When I notice myself starting to freak out a little, I'm going to go for a walk by the river or by the lake, or I'm going to grab that great book that I'm currently reading. I've got some strategies to help me at those times, knowing that what I'm feeling is energetic and not necessarily the truth. There is so much power in understanding that. Thoughts are not necessarily reality, So keep that in mind. Have some strategies, my Pisces friends. And of course, Neptune retrograde amplifies the energy of Neptune in general, which is martyrdom. Yes, we're compassionate. Pisces people, very charitable, very compassionate and giving people. But when Neptune goes retrograde, we get an over-amplification of this energy, and we end up being a martyr, sacrificing ourselves so everybody else can be comfortable and well-fed and safe and relaxed and living the high life. Well, we're the Cinderella, Cinderella. In fact, most fairy tales have a highly Neptunian quality or character in them. So fascinating to observe. But Cinderella, just doing her good little thing and biting her tongue in front of the stepmother and being treated like shit. Martyrdom, the ultimate Neptune foible. So be very careful of those sorts of behaviors, sacrificing yourself during Neptune retrograde, Pisces. The good news, as I've mentioned over and over in this reading so far, is that it is an energy of heightened creativity and great inspiration. So channel those energies of Neptune retrograde for the next 5 to 6 months, and you'll be really, happy as a pig in mud, living the beneficial energy of Neptune retrograde. Now, I will just also say, Pisces, that there is a need to focus on putting good boundaries in place. Neptune retrograde intensifies Neptune. We've already spelled this out. But what are the big traits of Pisces? What are the big traits of Neptune? A lack of boundaries, a lack of being able to say no, hence the martyrdom, a lack of being able to see when it's my thoughts creating fears and paranoia and it's not reality. That's a lack of mental boundaries and restrictions on our thinking. So that lack of boundaries is the tripping over point, the tripwire for us during Neptune retrograde. So recognize when you are in the fog and the mist and not seeing things clearly and diving into paranoia and fear unnecessarily, when you're martyring yourself, and say, I'm not going to go there anymore. This is my boundary. Anyone crosses this line, that's it, done. Putting good boundaries in place with partners, with bosses, with children, anyone else, but putting good boundaries in place for yourself, I'm a classic one for, I won't exercise for ages. I have Jupiter in the first house, not exactly keen on exercise when you've got a benefic in the first house. We'd rather just laze around and enjoy life. But just on that topic, I'm not very good at, motivating myself to exercise. But when I do, my Mars in the 6th house kicks in, and I just go gung-ho and overdo it, 100 reps of a weight that's, way too heavy for what I'm used to doing, and then my back's out for months on end. No boundaries, Kesenya, with exercise, first house, and looking after the body. Be aware, my friends. You've got no boundaries, you can really overdo it. So be very, very careful of your body and the lack of boundaries during this time. Awareness of what is healthy and what's good boundaries, and you don't have that trouble. So the physical body can be impacted by this. Look, Neptune does have connections to viruses and colds and things like that. Some of us may be a little bit more susceptible to those health concerns during this time. But generally speaking, those of us who are Pisces, will be reasonably resilient about that, and Saturn might actually be able to serve us well, being in our first house, by offering protection. Saturn, when it comes to medical astrology, offers protection and offers boundaries. So this is an era of Neptune retrograde, and it's one of the last times. There might be one or two more. One of the last times when Neptune's going to retrograde in our first house in our lifetime. It'll never happen again once it moves into Aries. And so we've got Saturn here for the duration of this particular Neptune retrograde, giving us the power to put boundaries in place where we might have struggled with that in the past. Saturn allows us to put a barrier, to put protections. So don't be afraid to assert yourself, Pisces. This is good, healthy growth for a Pisces person to do so. Don't be afraid to sort of say no when you need to say no to someone. Don't be afraid to honor the self, take care of the self and protect the self before you go and try and help anybody else. That's the opposite of martyrdom. It's the old, being in the airplane and putting on your mask first before you turn to help your children or anybody else with their mask. It's taking care of you first and then taking care of everyone else. Saturn will actually give us the protectionism to be able to put those those strategies in place, those boundaries in place as is needed. So an interesting 6 months. Use it to your best advantage. Get creative, get spiritual, write that poetry, do those paintings, act in that play or on that film, and enjoy this energy for the good things it can bring you, and have some strategies for dealing with the troublesome aspects of a Neptune retrograde. Moving along, Aries rising, Aries sun, or Aries moon, people. Well, you've got Pisces in your 12th house, and this means that this is where Neptune will be retrograding for the next 5 to 6 months. So coping with reality can become more difficult when Neptune retrogrades in the 12th house, my friends. Why is that? Because the 12th house is escapism, and Neptune is escapism, and when Neptune is retrograde, it's at its closest proximity to the Earth, and therefore it is amplified. An amplified, sort of overwhelming Neptunian energy. And so we have this incredible desire to escape. We're sick of the way things are in the world, can't cope with it anymore, I'm tapping out. So we might want to be more inclined to run away. We might want to go on a holiday. That's fine, it's healthy to go on a holiday, that's really, really good. But if we're like, chucking in our job, and 6 months later we've got no money, well, that's not really coping with reality. That's making your reality a lot worse. So it can be very hard to cope with reality because we might make decisions to escape that impact us in the long term. So I just encourage you, don't give in to fears and paranoias about what's happening in the world, and seek to escape reality in ways that are manageable, ways where there is a little bit of boundaries. You're not just throwing out the baby with the bathwater. You've got a boundary in place about what you're going to do. Like, you're not going to go and backpack across Europe for 2 years. You put a boundary in place with yourself and say, okay, I'll go and backpack across Europe for a month, and then I'll come back to my day job. What I need is to escape for a while. I'm going to do it, but within a framework, within a boundary that doesn't destroy my life in the long run and leave me poverty-stricken or whatever. Okay, so 12th house is also debts. Neptune retrograde can make us very vague about the debts that we have. So make sure that you've got some parameters in place to regularly pay your bills and pay your loans and pay your debts, so that you don't get out of whack with those sorts of things during the retrograde period of Neptune. This is a time when we are much more sensitive, Aries, and you are going to feel way more sensitive when it comes to psychic phenomena. Your dreams can be just off the Richter scale during this time, so have a good dream journal beside the bed, write them down. You never know what amazing things your dreams are going to impart to you during Neptune retrograde. One of my very dear friends here had a dream. She's always having incredible dreams, actually, and she's very connected psychically. But she had this dream about the Tats Lotto, and Tats Lotto is just lottery in Australia for those who aren't Australian. She had a dream about the Tats Lotto numbers. She saw 5 or 6 Tats Lotto numbers, and she really needed 7. And so she was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go play those lottery numbers. I wish I could remember what the other 2 were in my dream. Lo and behold, she ended up winning a division of the lottery because all the numbers she saw in her dream manifested. She was just cursing the fact that she hadn't been able to remember the other 2. Maybe if she'd had a dream book by her bed, she would have been able to write down every single number that she saw in her dream and have won the lottery. Wouldn't that have been lovely? I hope she gets a dream again during this retrograde process and that she wins the lottery. But this is what I'm talking about. Dreams with messages, heightened sensitivity to psychic phenomena. Some of you might be getting channelings, visions, intuitive feelings, forebodings, seeing signs and omens everywhere. Listen to your subconscious, Aries. It's really speaking to you during Neptune retrograde. Now, Neptune retrograde, it makes things misty and unclear. So you mightn't be sure, that the vision that you've had or the channeling that you had is for real or true. But I would encourage you to listen to your heart in that case and trust your inner knowing. What's it telling you? Does it feel right? Does it feel comfortable? Are you getting signs that that's the right message? Then listen to your heart during this energy. Neptune can make veils very thin because it's a planet of no boundaries between the reality of the earth we're living on and the astral, the ethereal, the other dimensions. And What beings are in the other dimensions? Well, in the good, it's angels, it's deceased relatives, it's even our higher consciousness from other lifetimes and so forth that reside in other dimensions. And so with Neptune thinning the veils and having no boundaries during Neptune retrograde season, we have greater access, Aries, to those astral beings, astral energies. So pray, meditate, connect with these beings, be present with those beings, find your peace in communicating with the divine now. If you've never prayed before, then there's no mechanism for doing it right. You just talk. Talk to your higher self. Talk to the angels. Talk to whoever it is that you feel is listening on the other side. This is a very powerful time for connecting with those things because your sensitivity is heightened and because the veils for an Aries person to the other realms are thinner. Now, you might desire more sleep during this time, and that's a good thing. If you're tired, take a rest. It's quite okay. Other escapist behavior, like I said, taking holidays, but it doesn't have to be taking holidays. You might want to go for a day spa visit, maybe once a month for the duration of Neptune retrograde, or go and get a massage or something like that. Some sort of escapism, even daydreaming and fantasizing, setting time aside to just be in that energy, to visualize and imagine, and that's a healthy thing under this energy as well. But the one key warning I want to leave you with, Aries, is that Neptune retrograde can increase the level of martyrdom. If you're prone to being a bit of a martyr already, sacrificing yourself for other people, not putting yourself first, then this energy of Neptune retrograde in the 12th house can amplify that. So be aware, knowledge is power. If you know that you're prone to a bit of that sort of behavior, then you can do something about it and recognize it when it shows up. The 12th house is also the house of secrets, hidden enemies, and persecution. And for some of you Aries people, you might know where your persecutions in life are coming from or who your hidden enemies are, because Neptune retrograde makes things foggy and unclear, but you know that it's happening. You know that I'm feeling, victimized here, or somebody's attacking me. I don't know who it is. So again, prayer, visualizing protections around you, put boundaries in place energetically, spiritually. It's very important, Aries. This is part of your battle process, Aries the warrior, during this time of Neptune retrograde. And Saturn being in Pisces as well is going to allow you to put boundaries in place that will help. A wonderful time when Neptune retrograde's in the same sign as Saturn, because Saturn gives us the power to protect. So visualize yourself with a force field, sending back the energy that all those people who leave nasty comments on your YouTube channel, it bounces right off you and it goes right back into them. They get back what they give out. See that force field around you, causing things to just bounce off you and not hit home. Protect yourself, protect your energy, Aries, during this time. Thank you, Aries. Okay, Taurus. Taurus rising, Taurus sun or Taurus moon, you happen to have the energy of Neptune moving retrograde in your 11th house. And this is where we might find that we're attracted to people, we're mesmerized. Neptune rules mesmerization and deception, or, being magnetized to something. We don't know why we're drawn to it. We're attracted to people who we're going to see as being ideal. We have this vision of who they are. We fantasize about who they are. We see these other people as being the ultimate, maybe they're the ultimate sports person, or they're the ultimate business person, and we're drawn to them because they seem ideal, or they seem to have it all together. Not necessarily so. Remember, Neptune retrograde brings about a vagueness. We don't see things clearly. There's a fog over the people that we're interacting with and meeting now. We see, we see them as somebody that they perhaps are not. We might also find that we're magnetized towards or attracted to dreamers, people who are, full of grandiose, I'm going to do this, and this is what this means, and we're full of puffs of air, puffs of wind, but we're nothing but smoke and mirrors. Dreamers, idealists, visionaries who have no substance. So that's something to be careful of as well, Taurus. Some of you Taurus people might be very magnetized towards those who are addicted. You might have a lot of compassion for those who are addicted during Neptune retrograde in the 11th house. Don't sacrifice yourself for somebody who is battling with addiction, you know. It's good to be compassionate. It's good to be caring about the sufferings of other people, and we absolutely should. But if it means the loss of self, if it means that we martyr ourselves, that's the shadow side of Neptune energy, and we don't want to be in that place. Other things that Neptune retrograde can mean when it's retrograding through the 11th house is that we become very vague about our friendships. I'm not sure if they really are my friend or they aren't. They've done this, they've said that. I don't really know. And we are a little bit lost about the status of our friendships. We don't see the friendships that we have very clearly. We might be more sensitized to what is said in our friendship groups. Somebody says something, it's perfectly innocent, but we take it the wrong way, and the friendship suffers. You know, paranoia, fears, oversensitivity in our friendship circles, in the groups that we're part of, that can damage our friendship. So awareness of this is also giving you a sense of power too. You'll know, oh, hang on, Kesenya, I'm taking that on too much to heart. It's not the case. They didn't mean that comment the way I took it. I need to get over myself. You know, having that bit of sensible self-talk is really important at this time. I'm not saying let people treat you like a doormat, but know where the boundaries are. It's about putting good boundaries in place with your friends so that you don't read into things what's not there, and also that they don't wipe their boots on you. Fortunately, Taurus, you've got Saturn in your 11th house at the moment too, helping put that protective skin around your friendships. You know, like you can have a bit of a boundary, have a bit of a, okay, well, let's be sensible here, let's be mature about what's going on, let's not get lost in some paranoia that I've got that they said something and meant something that they didn't. You know, it gives us a bit more grounding to have Saturn in the 11th house at the same time as Neptune is retrograding there. Now, also the 11th house is our dreams, our desires, our ambitions for how we can be profitable, how we can be gainful. And it's in a most blessed way. It's through being creative. It's through listening to your inspirational higher self at this time, Taurus. So if you're feeling inspired to, do a painting or create a new hairstyle or do something that's a bit out of the box, listen to that, act upon it. Heightened creativity is available to you, and it can actually lead to prosperity for many Taurus people during the next 5 to 6 months of this retrograde process. Don't be afraid to act upon your inspirations, to listen to the creativity that's wanting to flow through you at this time. Very exciting. Thank you, Taurus. All right, Gemini rising, Gemini sun, and Gemini moon people. You're going to be having Neptune retrograding on an angle. And this, whenever you've got something like this going on, it makes it more pronounced when it's on an angle. But Neptune retrograde is a very mixed bag. You know, Neptune, yes, it's the higher octave of Venus. It's divine love. It's charity and compassion and all these beautiful things, creativity and spirituality, but it is also very slippery and difficult to deal with when it comes to fears and paranoias and martyrdom and sensitivity. Now, here in the 10th house, you're going to want to be creative. For the next 5 to 6 months, you're going to want to be creative. Neptune makes us hunger for creative expression here on this angular house. But the thing is, Neptune retrograde makes vagueness, lack of clarity. Everything seems misty. We're not quite clear how to make it happen. Gemini, you're a business person, Gemini. You might have the best business idea in the world, but how do I actually practically implement this? How do I get this to happen for me in reality? I've got the vision of what it could be. 10 years down the track, it could look like this, but Neptune's in my 10th house. I just can't figure out the steps, the strategies, the planning that I need to take to get there. Well, I would suggest, in that kind of scenario, Gemini, don't worry too much. Neptune will eventually go direct and you'll be able to figure it all out. Maybe use this time to visualize and put your visions out there in the universe, to be, to create, to think about the marketing you might want to do for your business or the advertising or the promotion. Focus on those things that are very Neptunian that can help. But as I said, you want to be creative, but you don't quite know how to strategically make it happen under this energy. And the same goes not just if you've got a business idea you want to launch, but also the same goes for anyone who's in an occupation as well. You know, you want to be creative. Someone's given you a project to do, you want to do your best, and you know, usually you have wonderful creative juices flowing, but okay, how do I actually implement this into the topic of this particular project? I don't quite know. It's not quite gelling with me. The creativity's there, but the practical implementation is a little bit absent when Neptune's retrograding in the 10th house. So we might have some fears and paranoias. Neptune retrograde does bring a heightened level to fears and paranoias about our responsibilities, our social obligations, our leadership roles in societies. Oh, you know, Neptune retrograde is actually gossip. And we might be paranoid about, what are people really saying about me? You know, I gave that speech at the local, you know, Rotary Club, and oh my goodness, now I'm just paranoid that everyone's judging me or talking about me behind my back because of what I said in that speech and we are paranoid and let our fears take hold. Try and keep some level ground, try and stay focused, you know. Fortunately, Gemini, Saturn is in your 10th house at the moment too, helping you to be a bit more grounded, a bit more realistic about those sorts of scenarios. But yes, fears and paranoias can be present about your social roles, your responsibilities, your leadership. You might also be a bit fearful and paranoid, Gemini, about an occupation. You know, maybe you've worked in a particular job for 20 years, but everything's changed. Let's face it, the whole world has turned topsy-turvy. You know, if only we were in 2019 again before everything went mad. And now you might be very, with Neptune retrograding here, fearful about the longevity of your job, about your ability to continue to work in that field and be successful in that field, your ability to get public approval with what you're doing as a career. There can be real concerns and fears that crop up during Neptune retrograde. So with that in mind, it just pays to have some level of reality and understanding. You know, when you're feeling fearful and paranoid, perhaps go and talk to a boss. Try and glean some clarity. Look, I'm concerned about my job. Can you suggest a way I could do it that might work better? And you have a chat with your boss or your team leader or whatever, you know, or you might say, you know, I don't know how, you know, if how I'm doing my work is working for the company anymore. What needs to change? How can I grow? How can I give a better version of myself to my job? So instead of living in a cesspool of fear and paranoia, take some action, my friends, to sort it out, to gain a level of clarity and to lose the vagueness about your worthwhileness, your value in the career that you have. So get some clarity, whatever way you can, to help you through this time. And don't be afraid to sort of take some time out if you need to. I'm not talking about throwing in your day job, but if you need to just sort of get some perspective during the next 6 months of Neptune retrograde, then maybe you've got some long service leave stored up, you know, take a month off, go to the seaside and just think, okay, where am I heading in life? What's my position of leadership look like? How can I make that better? By escaping, retreating, having some time off, even just a long weekend here and there can be really, really helpful for getting some perspective on career issues and career and leadership concerns that might be present. The other thing I'll say, my Gemini friends, is if you are in a position of leadership, watch out for martyrdom during this time. If you're a boss, you might be just going to the nth degree for the sake of your employees. Nobody's appreciating that and you're killing yourself for it. What's the point in that? There is no need to martyr yourself. Try to honor your needs. And I used this illustration a moment ago in one of the other signs, but think about put your mask on first in the airplane before you put on anyone else's mask or help anyone with theirs. That's what we're talking about here. Honor your needs in your career environment, not selfishly, not, you know, greedily, but just honor what you need to succeed and then help others to rise up and succeed. It will actually make you a better leader if you're in a better place rather than freaking out, paranoid, martyring yourself. Honor you in your career and you'll then have the space and the peace of mind and the peace of heart to honor and help and lift up those who you are in leadership over. So that's that's my assessment of the Neptune retrograde energy for Gemini. Now moving to Cancer. Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon. Well, if you are a Cancer person, firstly, you're having a new moon in your sign this month. You might want to check out my video on Patreon where I talk all about that. But also on this day, for those who don't know and didn't watch the introduction, that happens to be the 2nd of July, or the 3rd if you're in Australia. Neptune is retrograding in the ninth house. And this is where we can be very hungry for the discovery of some utopian ideas for humanity. Neptune is the idealist. Neptune is the planetary energy of a vision for how utopian and perfect the world can be. Those of us who are Pisces, ruled by Neptune, we know how perfect the world can be. We know how beautiful it can be. We know how it should be run. And nobody seems to listen to we Pisces people with our good ideas. But here in the 9th house of philosophy, morals, ethics, vision for society, Neptune retrograde is going to amp up your ideas, your concepts for a perfect world. So, sometimes it's discouraging. I know as a Pisces, it's very discouraging to see the world operating the way it is, with greed and corruption and violence and war, all for certain people at the top to line their pockets at the expense of everybody else. I don't need to say much more than that. You all know what I mean. But these kinds of behaviors leave us as heavily Neptunian or Pisces people feeling very depleted and sad and disappointed, and we want to run away from reality because it's just so shit. Well, this is the energy that many Cancer people might be feeling. You might feel disillusioned at this time, cynical about the reality on Earth right now. And I say this not to make you sad or frustrated, even further. I say this to call out it's an energetic thing. Yep, you mightn't always be a glass half full kind of person by nature, or you might not be a glass half empty person by nature, but at least in this energy you're going to know why you're feeling so cynical for the next 5 to 6 months, why you're feeling irritated that the vision that you have that's coming in loud and clear during this retrograde process, why it's so disappointing as well that this vision that you're getting is so difficult to manifest. Okay? But this is the house of communication with the gods, and Neptune thins the veil between reality on Earth and the spiritual plane. So pray, meditate, spend time going into high vibrational state. If you're into doing trance work, it can be a good time for that as well. And you will actually have wonderful experiences, Cancer, during this Neptune retrograde season. The house of communication with the gods, practicing your methods for interacting with the higher beings and the higher vibrational energies that are in the universe, it's a great time for that. And certainly you have this heightened sensitivity to get a lot out of that. You might get messages from the divine you would otherwise never have had. Psychic impressions, guidance. This is the house of the horoscope. The 9th house has connections to Jupiter, the guiding star, the big guru energy. So for many of you Cancer people, you might be being drawn forward, drawn through, one door closing, another door opening at this time. The universe, the divine, the astral is guiding you to your purpose and your mission at this time. That can be very, very exciting. You might be being led. You've got to trust, you've got to have faith, but trust that when one door opens for you, and the other doors are closed, that's the door you're meant to take. The universe is leading you where it wants you to be. That can be very strong during Neptune retrograde here. You'll also be more inclined to see things from a big picture perspective. In fact, so big picture that, it can be quite boundaryless. Neptune is no boundaries. But this 9th house is about the big picture, the big patterns in life. Neptune is going to even throw that open even wider, and you might get a lot of insight and wisdom about what's really going on in the world, about who's pulling the strings behind what, behavioral patterns. You can get some, it's coming to my mind that you might get some understanding about propaganda and what the real truth is. This is a house of finding the truth, discovering the truth. Neptune here, although it can make us a bit vague, it also makes us very sensitive. And in the house of the truth, then you're very sensitive to what is true and what is not. Listen to your heart and you will know. Learn to read your own intuition and you will receive the clarity that you need. What is vague during Neptune retrograde here is we can be vague about what we want in the earth reality, not about impressions and ideas and morals and philosophies, but we can be very vague about what we want in earth reality. This is the house of long distance travel. Cancer, you might be saying, well, I'd really like to, travel to North Carolina for a holiday and check out what's going on in North Carolina. But I'm just not sure. Maybe I should actually go to South Africa. And then there's always North Queensland as well. Which one's going to be best? And you're just vague. Where do you want to be? Where do you want a holiday? Long distance travels. Where's the best place? You don't know. You're vague about it. What about university and studying something of for the higher mind? Well, will I go to that university, or maybe I should go to that university? What about I do an online course? Would that be better to do? I don't know. You're vague about your experiences in earth reality regarding the ninth house. How do you deal with that? Maybe you get advice from someone who hasn't got Neptune retrograding in the ninth house and see what they say. Well, really, South Africa, probably going to be better off going to North Carolina at the moment, given the current situation in the world. So you go to North Carolina. I don't know what's happening in South Africa or North Carolina. I have no idea, my friends. I just pulled that out of a hat, okay? I'm not saying anything about those places. But what I am saying is that maybe somebody else, a wisdom giver, somebody you see as a guru, somebody you see as benevolent, can give you a bit of guidance now to help you be less vague about what is happening in your earth reality and the decisions that you might need to make about these things. The one thing I will say is that there is a heightened level of creativity and inspiration. Now, I want to highlight the word inspiration here. This is an inspiration energy in the ninth house, and the inspiration is usually coming from other people. Benefactors and gurus are ninth house people. So you might get some eureka moments. Aha! Light bulb, I understand now, that come, and deep understanding that come from maybe listening to a TED talk, doing my Royal Stars Academy with me, and suddenly astrology makes sense. There is this epiphany energy and inspirational energy that is coming from teachers, benefactors, ministers, guides, people who are you look up to and have a level of respect for in whatever field. It could be a wisdom giver, maybe a financial advisor or an economic analyst. It could be, you pick up a book by Shuri Yukteswar and that changes your life in some way. You're inspired. So this is the kind of energy that I'm talking about here for our Cancer friends. Good level of inspiration is available during this Neptune retrograde for the next 5 to 6 months. I should also point out, my beautiful Cancer friends, you also have the capacity to be an inspiration to others during this Neptune retrograde. You've got your ninth house lord in the ninth house in the modern system, and that's giving you this ability to be a source of inspiration and upliftment to other people at this time too. Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon people. Hello, you guys have Neptune retrograding in the 8th house. What an interesting place to be having your modern lord of the 8th house going retrograde on the 2nd of July in most parts of the world, 3rd of July in Australia. And of course, this is going to last 5 to 6 months. So when, Leo, we have Neptune retrograding in the 8th house, we can be somewhat in denial about our financial situation. We just not going to worry about that debt or that loan or whatever. I'm just going to sweep that under the rug and pretend it doesn't exist. Neptune is very vague about things when it's retrograde. It's too much Neptune energy, and we're foggy, we're misty, almost intentionally. So we can be in denial about our not only our finances or our taxes or our investments, but our partner's finances or taxes or investment. I'm just going to pretend that they'll sort it all out. It's not my issue. I'm not going to concern myself. Well, if you're in a partnership with someone, it kind of is your concern. So Leo, try and face your fears, try and face your concerns about resources in your life with a partner, with love and grace and kindness where you can. We need to be, Leo, when we're having Neptune retrograding in the 8th house, we need to be very clear about where our money is. We need to know where the money we've invested is, where our money is going, how it's being spent, and that way we don't get the wool pulled over our eyes or someone deceiving us or ripping us off, that kind of thing. Be clear about what's happening in your partner's finances, especially business partners, not just relational partners. Be very clear about what's in your bank accounts, what investments you've got, so that there is no deception. Okay? I just can't reiterate that enough, Leo. This is an energy here in the 8th house that is highly sensitive, and this is a shamanic house, the house of inner knowing, of connection, but in a deep, profound way. So many of you Leo people might be experiencing some sort of rebirth or re-energization or reactivation of something from the past when Neptune is retrograding. So that could look like, could be somebody Neptunian coming back into your life and reactivating a relationship or reactivating some sort of connection that you had. You know, maybe you haven't seen your brother in 20 years and he comes back into your life. You know, maybe he's been a drug addict or something like that. Neptune is in the shadow side, those things. And lo and behold, Leo, then he's back in your life because he's come back with Neptune retrograde. Make sure that you put appropriate boundaries in place for anybody who comes back into your life who is wanting to rekindle a relationship of any sort with you. You know, say, well, look, last time this is what happened. I'm not going to let that happen again. I'm drawing the line. The moment you do this, it's all over. You know, I'm not saying shun people or be an asshole or anything. I am saying protect yourself. Don't be a martyr with other people, okay? Because this is the house of renewal and rebirth and revisiting. Anything is very 8th house, and Neptune is those sorts of difficult people, you know, alcoholics, drug addicts, people who pull the wool over your eyes, people who cheat you and deceive you, and you know, you've got to have some good boundaries in place, my beautiful Leos, with those sorts of people. Now, the 8th house is also about crises. Now, sometimes crisis can happen and you know, all it is a shocking event that changes your life and redirections your life. It doesn't always have to be bad, but it just happens so fast and so suddenly that you can't even catch your breath. Okay, so don't assume that because I'm talking crisis that it necessarily means horrible. It can just be fast and shocking and catch you unawares. But here there's this sensitivity to those things. You know, something shocking happens and you just react in a way that ordinarily, you know, you're very stoic, you're very enduring, but oh my gosh, this has happened and you can't stop shaking, you know, even if it's a good thing. So heightened sensitivity to crisis events, overreaction sometimes to crisis events because the nerves are raw under this energy. This can also be, see some of you Leo people martyring yourself, the shadow energy of Neptune, martyring ourselves in a crisis situation. So let's say something happens in wherever you live in the world, you know, maybe there's a flood or something like that happen. Neptune is floods, just using that as an example. You know, maybe a water main bursts and the whole street's flooded or something. And you're martyring yourself out there helping other people mop up their homes or you know, brush the water out or whatever you have to do during a flood. You're out there giving to the point where you don't sleep. You go home to your house, it's got water up 1 meter high, and you've got to deal alone with your circumstances because you've been giving yourself away to everyone else and neglecting your needs. So I'm talking about crisis situations. It could be anything. I've talked about a flood. It could be a divorce situation. It could be, you know, it could be a situation with a child that you're dealing with. It could be this is the house of work change. Would you believe? You know, changes and fast change of circumstances with jobs. So it could be that something changes in your job. and you are just martyring yourself for everybody else in that crisis situation, whatever it is, at your own detriment, at your own loss. So I keep reiterating this message throughout this reading, but put your own safety vest on, or face mask, air mask on first before you start helping everybody else in a crisis. Don't martyr yourself during the next 6 months. And I'm not saying that a horrible big crisis is going to happen. Please don't read me wrong. But we all have those moments of shock and challenge and difficulty that crop up throughout the course of a year. And I've used some big scale illustrations to talk about that. I just want you to know, Leo, that even small crises in the family, in the home, in your life, you can do better if you don't martyr yourself, if you put some boundaries in place and honor your needs and then deal with the crisis yourself. Now, one of the good things about Neptune retrograde here is it does make the veils very thin. If you are speaking to an astrologer, if you are going to see a psychologist or getting some Reiki done or past life regression work, if you're seeing a shaman, if you're traveling to Peru to do ayahuasca, if you're dealing with any kind of mystical practices or occult practices, you're going to get some pretty big outcomes, because the veils are thin now with Neptune retrograding here, and the amount of psychic phenomenon that can come through to your astrologer, your shaman, your psychologist can be very revelationary, can really change your life. It's the eureka moments that redirection us and turn things around. It's a pivot point. So Neptune retrograding here in the final degrees, I will add too, of Pisces, the most sensitive activating degrees, can really bring about some profound insights into your life psychologically, and even give you insights, I would say, beyond your own life to what we would usually refer to as conspiracy theories. You'll get an understanding of, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so I have no shame in talking about that, and I'm not talking about it in the negative. I'm talking about it with big thumbs up, understanding the deep, dark secrets of what really goes on in the world. There's likely to be some messages that come through, some psychic intuition that is activated for Leo people with Neptune retrograding here. So that's just what I want to mention for our Leo friends. Now, Virgo rising, Virgo sun and Virgo moon people, Neptune is retrograding in your 7th house. Now, this energy of Neptune can be sort of, think about the fog when it creeps in. It's sort of all-encompassing. It's all surrounding. It's suffocating and drawing in. Well, this is an energy of being drawn to, and maybe even a little bit suffocated by, Virgo, needy people. Needy people. People who are just leeching off you for some reason or another. They're leaning on you for what you can do for them. And that can be just very cloying or very claustrophobic as well. We need to be very careful in this Neptune retrograding in the house of other people. We need to be very careful, Virgo, of martyring ourselves for others. Oh, they need me, or they're so sad, or they've been such a victim, and you give and you give and you give and you give, Virgo, without enough boundaries, and you burn yourself out. Burning ourselves out for other people is often seen with Neptune retrograding in the 7th house. Another thing that can manifest is that we can be over idealistic about other people. We can see them through rose-colored glasses and not see the reality. We're thinking that they're going to do the right thing by us, so we invest our time and energy and money and whatever else into this person, and then they just up and go, and we're left high and dry. We over-idealize, and that can lead to problems. Now, I've given you a situation just then, an explanation of somebody who might be shafted by somebody else, but it can even happen with partnerships. You're dating someone and you just over-idealize them, and you think they're the best thing since sliced bread. They're just human, and then they let you down and you're disappointed. The fantasy drops away and you're left heartbroken. I don't want that for any of my followers. So be very careful about how you are idealizing the people around you during Neptune retrograde. It also would pay my beautiful Virgo friends, not to mix friends and money during this time. Don't mix, don't look. For Virgo people, I would suggest not the best time to be going into partnership with other people while Neptune is retrograding in your 7th house. When Neptune's direct, go for it, not a problem. But when it's retrograding, there's too much Neptune energy where you're going to perhaps martyr yourself for this other person. You'll be seeing your business partner through, rose-colored glasses, and deception and delusionment is indeed possible. Okay, now this is also a business house. This is the 10th house from the 10th. So it has to do actually with contracts and commitments and promises and alliances of a business nature. This can be a time when you, my friend, might be perhaps more vague about what you want in an agreement or a contract for a business purpose, and it might be harder to get clarity here. I would suggest speak to someone who's not having a Neptune retrograde in their 7th house, who can give you some wisdom, who can look at the minuscule. Neptune is very big picture. It has no boundaries, no limits, and what we need when we're doing contracts is to look at the fine print, the details. What are we really signing up for here? What is our real purpose here? So get somebody who is not having this transit to, look at the dotted I's and crossed T's. It'll help you if you're feeling vague about these contracts and situations. You might also be feeling a bit paranoid about a partner or fearful about a partner. Maybe, you're feeling like they're cheating on you, and you can't find any evidence to prove it, but you're feeling it and you're paranoid, and your paranoid mindset is leading you, Neptune retrograde, to, make all sorts of accusations or things that really ultimately dissolve and destroy a relationship. Paranoia is based on no solid ground about, maybe it's a romantic partner, could be a business partner. There's fears and paranoias about other people that, if they're not grounded in some sort of evidence or reality, could lead to a dissolution of a relationship, of a contract, that you ultimately down the road regret. So don't let this is probably the worst place to have a Neptune retrograde for destroying a relationship and dissolving things that are important to us. A business, a marriage, relationship of some sort. Could even be your tennis partner, Relationship with a tennis partner gets dissolved. Neptune's also gossip. So Neptune retrograde, my friends, be very careful of what you hear whispered about. Don't go believing every piece of gossip that you hear about other people at this time. Do your due diligence. Do some research. Go and confront people and ask them gently, lovingly, politely, kindly, I've heard this gossip, what's the truth? Don't let those fears and paranoias take hold. It can really ruin things that are very valuable and very worth keeping. Another thing I just want to say is, and I might have already mentioned this a little already, Virgo, but this is the placement in the horoscope that can cause us to martyr ourselves a great deal for others. This is the house, 7th house is other people, important other people in our life, and Neptune retrograde is martyrdom. We're giving ourselves away. We're putting other people's needs before our own, and therefore burning ourselves out and depleting our energy. And let's face it, the world's gone bonkers, everybody. You need your energy. You need to love yourself and honor yourself first, so that we can get through this hairy, difficult period in history. We need to support one another. Yes, we do. We need to create community and belonging if we are to survive. Absolutely. But you've got to love yourself and survive yourself first. So no more martyrdom for other people. What we do is compassion. What we do is charity. But we honor ourselves first and foremost. Keep that in mind, Virgo. You guys are very susceptible to this, and Neptune retrograde can really cause that to be a bit of a problem in many fields of life. Thank you, Virgo rising. Now, lovely Libra rising, Libra sun, and Libra moon people. So the 6th house, Libra, the 6th house is where it's at, where Neptune is retrograding, and this is where we're going to be super sensitive to our work environment. Hungry for an ideal workplace with, ideal companions at work, or good juicy work that we can sink our teeth into that feels meaningful and purposeful. But let's face it, those workplaces are few and far between. We need to, in order to deal with this idealism about a workplace, like Neptune retrograde wants the ideal workplace, wants the ideal workmates, wants the ideal projects, and they might be very hard to come by. What we can do instead is to bring beauty into our workplace, and that can really help. Organize our workplaces, our desk, bring flowers in every day, maybe some beautiful sweet foods to share with your workmates. You make the place beautiful, Libra, and you're so good at that, Libra. This is something you do really, really well. You, during Neptune retrograde for the next 5 to 6 months, bring in the beauty. You be the beauty. You be the ideal that you long for in your workplace. You be the best colleague you can be. You be the best employee you can be. You be the best that you can be in your workplace. Now, it will also benefit you, Libra people, to make, if you can manage it, work as flowing as possible. Neptune retrograde heightens the Neptune energies, and Neptune doesn't want boundaries in the workplace. So I'm a Libra moon. I am so blessed. I've taken a day job this year because times are tough in the world right now. I work for a local council, and I am so blessed that this council allows its employees to work from home if they want to. So one thing, this is a beautiful illustration actually, Libra, one thing that you can do, ironically, Saturn is government in my 6th house of work for a Libra moon person. There you go, no surprises. When Saturn went into my 6th house, I got work with a government council. But one thing you can do is keep it flowing. Okay, on this day I'll work from home. I might go into work on that day. If you're in a position where you can do that, and let's face it, thanks to the last 3 to 4 years, workplaces are more amiable about that sort of thing. So hoping that everybody listening to this has options to make work more flowing. Now, if you can't sort of pick and choose what days you go in, or, I'm going to work from home today, I might take a rostered day off this day. If you can't be in that situation, then, as I said, bring in beauty, bring in creativity, hang a painting of a dolphin in your desk space. Neptune rules ocean themes, so try and make it an ocean themed picture, or some sort of beautiful scented flowers, sensory experiences. Neptune's the higher octave of Venus after all. The more you can do that, the better experience you can have at work. Keep it flowing, keep it different, even mix it up a little, I'm very blessed. Again, I'll use myself as an illustration here, but I've got a government role going, Neptune, Saturn in the 6th house, and I've also doing my astrology, which is I see as a very spiritual piece of work. I'm listening to what the divine is telling me as I'm talking to you for these videos every week. Neptune energy, what is spirit telling me to share with you? And so astrology does have some connections to Neptune in that way, even though Uranus and Pluto are the more astrological planets. But yes, spiritual component to what you're doing as well, if you can bring that in to some sort of work that you're doing. Now, it mightn't mean that it's necessarily paid work, because this is the house of service. And, for me, Saturn here, I'm a public servant. Saturn is servants, 6th house is service. So being a public servant and having a servant mindset, how can I help? How can I heal? How can I fix? I've got to just say that when I work in government organizations, one thing I see, not necessarily in the place I'm working at the moment, it's quite a wonderful workplace and I'm very grateful for that. But one thing that I do see in the other government industries that I have been in is people obsessed with ego, not service. It's a totally wrong attitude to have as a government official. We are public servants there to help the public, not assert our authority or flex our muscle or our ego. You come crashing down in a hurry in those kinds of service roles if it's all about puffing up your own ego, can I just say. But If you can bring in, my beautiful Libran friends, some spirituality to what you're doing, and it doesn't have to be paid work. Maybe you are wonderful at astrology and you decide, I'm going to give my friends some astrological insights at this time, and they don't have to pay me. I'm going to be a blessing to them. I'm going to be of service to them using Neptunian capacity. Maybe you do regression work. Maybe other Neptunian things are poetry. Maybe you write a poem to lift up a friend who's really going through a struggling time. Maybe you offer to do some sort of charity. Neptune is charity energy, and you cook a meal for somebody who is struggling at this time. Or somebody is sick and they can't go and run their coffee van that they've got. So you offer to go and, step into their place. You don't have to pay me. I know things are tough. I'm going to do some charity and run your coffee van for you while you're at home recuperating. Being of service in any way you can is channeling Neptunian energy, and a great way to work with this Neptune retrograde. You will get the blessing in the long run. Neptune, I have heard from many astrologers and read in many astrology books that Neptune can give miracles. Neptune is the planet of miracles, but he tends to bide his time before the miracles come. He's not in a rush, and the miracle often comes in unexpectedly, like infiltratingly, not unexpectedly, shockingly the way Uranus works, but more mistily, more nebulously, where all of a sudden we're in a beautiful situation because Neptune has brought about some sort of miraculous blessing in our life. So, you work hard, you do some service for your friend who's too sick to run their coffee van, and lo and behold, they in gratitude, because maybe you ran it for them for a week, in gratitude, they give you a week on the Gold Coast to say, thank you so much for helping me through that really difficult time that I couldn't have done it without you. Here, I've got a timeshare. Take my week on the Gold Coast because I'm so grateful. This is not that we do things for, gratitude or do things for a reward, but Neptune can bring little miracles and big miracles that manifest for us in a beautiful way. Okay, what else can happen during Neptune retrograde? Well, we do need to be very careful. I've talked about helping and being charitable, but there's a boundarylessness to Neptune energy where we don't know the limit between helping and being of service and martyring ourselves. And this is a very difficult place where a retrograde Neptune can take it too far. We want to help fix everyone's problems. We've got this idealized Neptune vision of the world, how the world should be. There shouldn't be poverty. There shouldn't be disease. There shouldn't be either. We live in a day and age that's very low vibrational and depraved, but we're moving out of that, thank God. Check out my video with David that I did recently on his channel. But this energy is those lower problematic energies: poverty, disease, inequality, racism, abuse, and so forth can be seen through the problematic sixth house energy. And Neptune has an ideal. It must look like this. The world could be so beautiful if. And so we martyr ourselves, Neptune shadow energy, trying to bring about our ideal and fixing all the problems that we see as issues in the world. And we end up burning ourselves out, and making ourselves sick can happen too in the sixth house. You know what? My mum, she was a school teacher, still is a school teacher, and every school holidays, Neptune rules holidays, she would get sick with a cold. Neptune rules viruses, sick with a cold because she had martyred herself for her children at school, time and time again, working big long hours, giving so much of herself and her energy to her teaching because she loved it, but she always wound up with a cold. Neptune energy in the sixth house, where if we're martyring ourselves, we can get sick with a virus or a cold, or even Neptune rules nebulous illnesses that we can't put our finger on. We don't know where they're coming from. It can even be psychosomatic illnesses that come from Neptune. And when Neptune is retrograde and his energy is heightened, the chances of that impacting us can be greater. Forewarned, forearmed, my beautiful friends. So you might not know why you're struggling. You might be a bit vague about why you're struggling, why there are problems in your life and it doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense and life is hard. Neptune feels over, like Neptune here is like in the house of problems. Neptune has no boundaries, and the amount of issues and problems can feel overwhelming because there is no boundary to them. Neptune retrograde in the 6th house of problems, too many issues that you're overwhelmed by. So do have some strategies. Don't martyr yourself. Have some strategies for finding peace and balance and harmony where you can. Take some time out. Have a rest. Don't overdo it serving everybody else. Take a little holiday, even if it's just an hour with a cup of tea, staring out the window and daydreaming, something I love to do. Those sorts of things are very important. And the good news is, Libra, you've got Saturn here in the 6th house helping you to put boundaries in place, helping you to put protections in place. In fact, I would encourage you, while Neptune's retrograde, visualize yourself protected by a beautiful bubble, stopping diseases, stopping poverty, stopping problems. Saturn is your friend during this Neptune retrograde, because Saturn is protection in that it provides a boundary, a hard wall that things can't get past. Visualize it, see it, and you'll cope with this energy so much better. Thank you, Libra. Moving on to Scorpio. I'm going to have a sip of water because I'm running out of juice. Not literally juice, just energy juice. Okay. For our Scorpio rising sun or moon people, on the 2nd of July, Neptune's going to turn retrograde for about 5 to 6 months, and it's going to happen in your 5th house. This is where we will, during this time, we can tend to be looking for perfection and ideals in relationships. You know, that can lead to disappointment. We are expecting Prince Charming on his white horse to ride up and carry us off to his castle in the clouds, and it doesn't manifest, and we're like gutted. You know, we thought that date with that guy was going to be the one that took us out of poverty into being a princess. Oh, didn't happen. Devastated. Try and keep your feet on the ground during Neptune retrograde, my friends. Try and be realistic about the people that you meet and the relationships that you could enter into. Try and see the good rather than the over-the-top ideal. Neptune can bring about fantasies, romances, you know, projections that just don't match the reality of life in the body. We can also need to be very careful, Scorpio, about entering into love affairs that we go into to escape the pain of maybe a failed relationship or the pain of a life that's been disappointing. And it ends up being more disappointment for us, not because the person was not good enough or less than, but because we went into that relationship with the wrong expectation, the wrong ideal, the misguided Neptune energy. The thing was doomed from the beginning. So love affairs that we go into to escape something in our life that hasn't worked or that isn't right or whatever will end up more problematic for us. So I would suggest, if you're in that situation, Scorpio, do the healing, and you're good at healing. You're a healing sign. Do the healing on yourself first. Do the psychological work on yourself first. And then when you enter into a love affair during Neptune retrograde season, you're going to be in a much better place because you're not being the victim. You're not being, oh, you know, poor me, I need to, you know, be in this relationship to heal that broken heart. No, you've healed your broken heart. The heart's restored. You enter into a love affair for joy, for the sake of delight with that person. Okay? Very, very important to distinguish those things. Do the work. Saturn's here. Good news, Scorpio. Saturn in your 5th house can help you do the work to heal a broken heart. Saturn can help you put good boundaries in place so that you don't end up entering into a relationship for the wrong reasons during Neptune retrograde. Now, this can also be an energy where we expect perfection from our children. You know, the idealism of Neptune is, instead of being put on our partners, it can be put on our children. And we just, you know, come on, Johnny or whoever our child is, you know, you can get A+. And we're expecting perfection. We're expecting an ideal. Johnny might be totally uninterested in maths. Johnny might want to, join the local drama club. You know, so we need to be very, very careful. Now, not that And Neptune retrograde is in any way like the dad in Dead Poets Society, if you've seen that film, who's just an authoritarian, my way or the highway, Pluto kind of power energy that absolutely ruins his son's life. It's not like that at all. Neptune is boundaryless with our children, but we can have expectations where the children feel like they just don't measure up, you know? Now, boundarylessness with children can also see children taking advantage of us. You know, oh, Mum, I need money for this, or Mum, I need money for that, or I need, got to pay this person off, or I want to start this business, can I have a loan, Mum? And we don't have if we're not careful, we have no boundary with our children, and they take advantage of us. Now, God willing, our children are our allies in life, and our family is, facing this crazy world we're in right now as a collective, powerful force together. But let's face it, there are some children who practice elder abuse or who do take advantage of their parents and their parents' generosity and hospitality. You know what? It's up to the parents to draw the line. It's up to the parents to say, I'm sorry, this is a parental energy, Saturn in your 5th house of children. Draw on this Saturn. Forget the boundaryless Neptune-ness. I'm sorry, but I can't give you that loan. You're going to need to get a job and save up and go for a loan from the bank like most other people have to. That's just one example. You're going to have to put some boundaries in place and be the authoritarian, not in the bad sense of the word, but the boundary-giving parent that says, come on, step up. You can do this. I believe in you. I support you, but I'm not going to let you take advantage of me. So that's another way this can manifest. It won't happen like this for everyone. The last time I mentioned elder abuse on my YouTube channel, I got all these stupid ass comments from people who were offended by my use of the word elder abuse. Hello, it happens in the world. I mean, God's sakes, I can think of a president who's probably being a victim of elder abuse right now. It happens, my friends. And we need to be aware of these things. Let's not put our heads in the sand. I mean, Scorpio, I know I'm talking to the converted here. You guys don't put your head in the sand. Anyhow, Neptune in the 5th house. Be careful of idealizing relationships. Be careful of idealizing children or high expectations for children or boundarylessness with children as well. My child can do no wrong, Not true. Children are humans, just like parents. We can also, just to warn you, Scorpio, we can have some fears and paranoias for our children. And let's face it, I mean, if you're a parent, you do tend to feel very fearful and paranoid for your children in this day and age. Are they even going to be able to afford a house? Are they going to be able to, have a decent life? That does happen. And this Neptune retrograde might be causing that to be exacerbated now. So, instead of that, try to experience creativity with your children. Do something creative, Say, guys, we're going to have a picnic, Even adult children, we're going to have a picnic, and I want you to bring some plate of food to share that is something you've never made before, something you've always wanted to try. Get creative. And we're going to go out and have this picnic and share our food. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. Try and be creative with your children in some way, shape, or form. Share that energy of creativity with your children. Beautiful Neptune energy. Get out in nature with your children. Go to the beach with your children, with your lovers. This is a good way to use this energy. And it's there's so many positive ions at the beach and in nature, particularly in forests and things like that as well. Isolation is Neptune. So is Saturn, by the way. And so being in a place where you're away from other people, in nature, isolated in some way, together with your children, together with your lover, it can be very cathartic and healing. Perhaps regular experiences of that nature might be a good thing to do during this Neptune retrograde for the next 5 or 6 months. Once a month, you get together as with your children, do something creative, or tap out and escape in some healthy way. And it can reduce the fears. It can reduce the paranoia. Maybe still be there in the background, but it takes the edge off because you're channeling Neptune energy into something more positive, more beautiful, more fruitful, more joyful. 5th house is joy, instead of something that's paranoid and fearful and frightened and sensitized. Okay, so I hope that's been of assistance to my beautiful Scorpio people. All right, Sagittarius, rising sun and moon. Okay, guys, you have Neptune going retrograde for the next 6 months, 5 to 6 months, in a sign of Pisces, which is your 4th house. Okay, now this is happening on the 2nd of July, or maybe the 3rd if you're in Australia, but 2nd of July for most places in the world. And this is going to see you over the next 5 months really crave and need a calm, serene domestic environment. If you are experiencing any kind of chaos or instability in your home situation, Sagittarius, it's going to be, you're going to be sensitized to that. It's going to be difficult for you. Chaos in the home can feel very, very unsettling when Neptune's retrograding here. So I just encourage you, do what you can. Perhaps in the lead up or in the early stages of this Neptune retrograde cycle, it might be a really good idea to do a spring clean, declutter, organize. Neptune's not usually very good at that sort of organizational stuff, but you have got Saturn here in the 4th house as well, that will give you the ability to restructure your home in some way, to clear out what's not needed and declutter and organize and get things sorted, so that when Neptune's retrograding, things feel more in their place. Things feel more serene, more calm, less full of upheaval. Whatever you can do to help that is a good idea. Neptune retrograde means Neptune's energy is heightened, and in the house, especially if this is crossing your IC, Neptune's currently at 29 degrees. That's where it will be felt most potently in the coming week. If you have your IC at 29 degrees of Pisces, you'll feel this very strongly. It's an angular house and it's the anaretic degree, and Neptune's sitting right on there, as Pam Gregory always says, drilling down on that point. This is a time when Neptune goes retrograde when things can go wrong with the water in your home. It could be the plumbing, if you've got water tanks, the inflow of water into your pipes. There can be problems. Saturn is not far away. It could be that your pipes freeze. In Australia, it's been icy cold. Saturn is to freeze. Neptune is water. That could be a problem. Frost on your cars in the morning, that kind of thing. So it could be that these cause issues, cause problems, particularly this week when Neptune goes retrograde, if you're having it happen on your IC. So check the plumbing, check your water. Gas is another thing ruled by Neptune as well. If you've got gas fireplaces or gas heating or anything like that, make sure everything is functioning as it should. Reminds me, I'm not a Sagittarius, but I need to get the gas heating in my home checked as well. These are ruled by Neptune, and when Neptune goes retrograde, this is the earth realm manifestation that can happen when there's too much Neptune energy in the home. Okay, but as I've already said, if you can create a serenity and a peace in your home, in your domestic environment, then it's less likely that those negative aspects of Neptune will be channeled into the home experience. So you might like to be watching movies in your home. Maybe for the next 6 months under this Neptune retrograde energy, it might be really good to sort of set up a room in your house to be a little theatre, like Neptune rules films. Get a little projector and, set it up, firing onto the wall. There you go. You've got a movie theatre in your home. Very Neptunian. Neptune rules movie theatres in the home. Maybe have, if you're into this sort of thing, a night where you sit by the fire and read poetry together with somebody that you love. Maybe as a family, you all, encourage your children. This is the house of parenting. You write poems. Neptune retrograde energy. Neptune is poems. Write a poem, you all share it together in front of the fire one evening with hot chocolate or something. Like, bring that serenity and Neptunian vibe into your home in a positive way, and you're less likely to see the challenging expressions of retrograde Neptune in your home environment. Now, this is also the house to do with our emotions, Sagittarius, and we are going to be potentially more sensitive emotionally. Things, people say something to us, ordinarily it's like water off a duck's back. Under this Neptune retrograde energy, it really hits home. It really niggles. I'm sick of them saying that about me. Neptune's also gossip. Somebody in the family fourth house might be gossiping about you or spreading stories about you and your character that just aren't true. Neptune retrograde energy in the false or low vibrational sense. Neptune is fears and paranoias. This is the house of our parents. It is possible that some of you might be experiencing some maybe ungrounded but fears nonetheless for your parents, or paranoia about how they're doing. So make sure you check in regularly with your parents. How are they doing? What's happening in their lives? What are they eating? What's their routine? Are they doing okay? Allay your fears and paranoias by reaching out and connecting with parents wherever you need to. Do be careful, because this is the house of parenting. If you are a parent or if you have parents, there can be martyrdom going on in the negative side of this expression. So maybe you're martyring yourself to take care of elderly or aged parents. You're giving up yourself and your own needs to look after aged parents. Be very careful of doing that. Try and put some boundaries in place that are appropriate so that you get your needs met as well as your parents being looked after. There is a balance there. It can also mean that as a parent, if you are one, you're martyring yourself for your children, giving too much, giving yourself away so that your children, and we do that as parents, it happens in the natural world where, a mother bird, I think I've read stories about like a hen protecting her chickens from, something like fire or something like that, and the chickens are huddled underneath the mum who's died in a fire, but the chickens are okay. We sacrifice ourselves. It's a natural instinct. We martyr ourselves for our children. So I would just encourage you, try and put a boundary in place if you're doing that is more healthy. You don't want to burn up in a fire or get swept away in the flood while your children sits high and dry. Like, do what is needed, but protect and honor your own energy as well. Try and find a balance. And Saturn in your fourth house is going to enable you to do that also. You might need to put some protections and boundaries in place regarding emotional stability as well. And I would just encourage you to have some ideas for how you can ground yourself during this time, how you can create a sense of security and stability. Saturn gives you the ability to create structures. And during this Neptune retrograde time, whatever is sensitizing you, whatever is causing you to feel unstable, whatever is causing you to feel emotionally wrought or wrung out, that's your sign. Okay, I need to restructure something in that area. I need to put new foundations in place so that I don't feel strung out, so that I don't feel overwhelmed, so that I don't have emotional anxiety or sadness or depression from this retrograde Neptune, what it's causing in my life. So restructuring your life where needed, and have some strategies. Neptune is escapism, and I would encourage you to escape in healthy ways if you're feeling overwrought during this Neptune retrograde season and like there's too much going on and I'm too overwhelmed and my domestic environment is chaos. What can you do? I've already said you can put some structures in place, but escaping. Okay, I need a holiday. I can't cope with what's going on in my domestic environment. I've tried my best to make it serene and calm, but it's beyond me. I'm going to take a weekend. I'm going to go away. Even if, you haven't got a lot of money, grab a tent and go camping. Like, go out, buy some water, go for a day out at the beach. Whatever is escaping from a domestic environment that feels overwhelming to you, do it. Like I said, it could be watching a movie. It could be reading a book, These sorts of escapist practices that are more healthy are good things to do during Neptune retrograde if the home environment becomes a little bit overmuch. And the other thing is that you can bring your creativity and inspiration into your home. Neptune is beauty, and you can decorate. You can, maybe you could sew or, sew some new cushions or braid some rugs or something like that. Do something creative and inspiring, create beauty in the home environment. Like I said, poetry night with your family, even like something I'm hoping to do for my birthday, a little cocktail party at home. Neptune rules alcohol. I'm not saying get on the grog. That's not what I'm saying, but enjoy in a well-balanced sense, something fun in hospitality at the home, like a little cocktail party, can be a great thing to do during this particular retrograde Neptune energy. Thank you, Sag. All right, we're nearing the end of the line now. Thank you, everybody. Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon people. I spoke extensively about the age of Pluto through Capricorn in a recent video that I did with David on his channel. Do check that out. It's worth understanding some of the things that are going on out there in the world. But we're looking at Capricorn rising sun or moon people, the energy of Neptune going retrograde in your third house. This is an energy of wayfinding. The third house is wayfinding, and Neptune is vagueness, mistiness, fogginess. You might find in the next 6 months, my beautiful Capricorn friends, that you might get lost at some point. I'm not trying to put fear into you, but if you go for a drive and an explore and you're using your GPS on your phone, you might find you're out of zone. There's no coverage, and oh, hang on, how do I get out of here? So I'm forearming you with this. Have a paper map handy, go to the old school. Saturn is old fashioned. Have the old school handy just in case. But third house energy is vagueness, and you might get lost. You might be vague with directions. Somebody has said, come and visit me, I'm at this address, and you're really vague, and you're like, hang on, I can't find that address. You might be a bit vague with your ability to read maps. Third house energy. You might decide, and this is very much the spiritual energy of Neptune in its heightened form, retrograding in the third house. Third house is to do with communications, but it's also to do with numbers, and our ability to learn numbers and understand numbers. And Neptune rules spirituality. So what is numbers and spirituality when combined? It's numerology. You might find doing a deep dive into numerology and the spiritual meanings behind numbers might be very uplifting for you over these months of Neptune retrograde. And it's certainly a good way to handle the Neptune energy in a much better way than getting lost when you're out driving. So look up some numerology sites, work out what angel numbers are all about, and start researching and understanding how numerology works as a science. I think you'd be quite blown away by that. There can also be a bit of vagueness, because that's the energy of Neptune in retrograde motion, about neighbours, siblings and relatives. Maybe you've tried to communicate with these people, or maybe you've got a fence between you and your neighbour, and you're trying to work out who's got to pay for the fence. You organise a contractor, the contractor comes in, does the fence, and then you go to pay, and you're like, say to your neighbour, well, you're paying 50% and I'm paying 50%. The neighbour's like, no, we never organised that. And there's misunderstandings with Neptune retrograde. You were a bit vague about who had said what and who was paying for what, and now you're in the soup. So try, when you're dealing with neighbours, relatives, siblings, be clear as you can during this Neptune retrograde period, because there can be some serious confusion and misunderstanding. Write anything down. No gentlemen's agreements, no handshake ideas. Make sure it's clear when you're dealing with these people. This is also a house of friendships, but friendships that feel like siblings to us. Friends, I just had my girlfriend, she was a bridesmaid for me when I was much younger, come around and have a coffee with us. We had a great chat. It was wonderful. She is a friend to me, like a sibling. I feel like she's known me since I was 8 years old, and we're like siblings. We get one another. This is a third house kind of friendship. And this could be an energy where there's a sensitivity that comes into that friendship. You say something, it offends a friend. I hope that doesn't happen for me and my friend. I'm not a Capricorn rising, so probably not. But you, as a Capricorn rising, sun or moon person, might have a sensitivity with a friend who feels closer than a brother, closer than a sister. There could be a fear for a friend of that nature, or some paranoia about a friend of that nature. Neptune retrograde in heightened effect, but at a low vibration, can also bring gossip. You might hear some gossip about this friend who's very close to you, and you're like, that doesn't sound like them, that sounds like a load of rubbish. Do your research, find out the truth. But you might hear some gossip right now. People might be spreading gossip about you with Neptune retrograde over the next 5 months. As I said, developing an interest in numerology, or even, what is it when there are the grid lines across the earth? There's a name for that, and it's escaping me right now, but it's geo something or other, that I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, that can also fit the bill here as well. Getting an interest in numerology and ley lines and geo electrical grids and all that kind of thing can be very good at this time, as a rechanneling of the energy into something more positive, rather than this sensitivity and fears and paranoias that I've been speaking about. This is an energy, Neptune here is boundaryless, and people, you want to be careful of people taking advantage of you, or you taking advantage of other people, not just relatives, neighbors and siblings, but if you're involved in a workshop group, you know, you go and study something or learn it, get a certificate in something and doing a workshop, and people are just taking you for granted, or, you know, stomping all over your generous, kind nature in some way. Don't martyr yourself for these people. This is the house of tradespeople, you know, craftsmen. Don't let them take advantage of you, Capricorn. If you need something built, or some work, some sort of trade or workmanship done, don't accept shoddy work, you know. Have some boundaries, you know. This is not good enough, for example. So you go back to them and say, hey, I need you to do this again. Not good enough, not meeting the standards that are necessary. Saturn will help you with that. Saturn will help put boundaries in place with people who are doing some sort of craftsmanship or workmanship for us. This could be hairdressers, it could be builders, it could be carpet layers, it could be people who are doing some sort of trade in our lives. Don't let them take advantage of you, which is one of the ways this can work out. The other thing is, Capricorn, that the third house is the house of our self-made wealth, and therefore it pertains to running our own businesses. If you are a Capricorn person and you have your own business, you need to be very, very careful at this time about handling your money. There can be sort of a lack of clarity about where's the money gone. I've spent all my money and I've dissolved all my bank accounts for my small business and now got nothing. Be careful about money. Be clear about, it's not a money house, but it is the money that we make from our own talents and abilities, and it is self-made wealth that comes from running our own business. So make sure that you're very clear about your bank accounts, what's in what bank account, where the money's going, what's being spent, and you'll do so much better under this energy, Capricorn. All right, thank you, my Cappy friends. Excuse me. Now, Aquarius rising, sun and moon, people. Alrighty, my friends. We have Neptune turning retrograde on the 2nd of July in most parts of the world, 3rd of July everywhere in Australia. Neptune's turning retrograde in your second house and will be so for the next 5 to 6 months. So this is the house of our resources, the things that support our body's journey, the food we eat, the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, the home we have, the things that our body needs to thrive and survive, including our money and finances. And so to have Neptune going retrograde in the second house means that we at this time need to work very hard to view our finances realistically, because we're a bit idealistic. Oh yeah, I'll just make all that money and then it'll be okay. And the money never comes and you are struggling with debt. You know, there's a lack of groundedness when Neptune is retrograding in the second house. You've got to be able to put your feet on the ground. You're lucky you've got Saturn here helping you to see things realistically and with a sense of boundaries, because Neptune is boundaryless. Oh, I'll just buy that. I'll put that on the credit card. I'll spend that. And then, you know, so all of a sudden you've maxed out your credit card and everything's unraveling. So Neptune retrograde, be very careful about seeing your finances and your bank accounts and so on realistically. Also, get advice from someone who doesn't have Neptune retrograding in the second house, so that you can get a realistic perspective on budgeting and managing money at this time. I'm not saying that you're incompetent, Aquarius. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying the energy is not your friend right now, so get help when you need it. Neptune retrograding here in the house of how we value ourselves can take things to extremes. Like when there's no boundaries, things are either too much or too little. We might undervalue our efforts. And, let's say we're starting to practice past life regression work, and we're charging $20 for our past life regression work. Well, that is seriously undervaluing a skill you have, a service that you're offering, and that's Neptune retrograding in the second house all the way, not putting an appropriate value on what we're offering the world. Equally, Neptune retrograding can sort of have a boundaryless approach to our worth and our value, and we idealize, we fantasize, we overblow our particular worthiness. I'm going to do a past life regression where I'm going to charge $500 for a session with me, a 20-minute session, $500, because I've got it going on. I know what I'm doing. I'm in touch with the divine, and I can help people. And that's just, nobody's going to pay for that, like a lack of realism about what you're worth shows up when Neptune goes retrograde. Again, it can be very helpful to speak to somebody and do some research around, well, what are other past life regressionists charging for their time and their skill sets that is fair and equitable and reasonable for what they're offering. So no undervaluing our value and no overblowing our value either with boundaryless Neptune in the house of valuing ourselves. We also need to be very, very careful during Neptune retrograde about get-rich-quick schemes. Neptune is the daydreamer. And I will share this as a Pisces rising person. I've got Neptune in the 10th house, and I am the world's biggest daydreamer about get-rich-quick schemes. I don't always give in to them because I do have other things that ground me, thank God. But, if there's a way to get there effortlessly and miraculously with Neptune, I'm all ears. Tell me all about it. But you've got to be so careful when Neptune's retrograding. Don't fall for the get-rich-quick schemes. They're often too good to be true, and you'll end up kicking yourself when that money goes down the drain later. Be very careful as well about who you loan your money to for the next 6 months, my friends. Why? Because Neptune is deception. And people might be, oh yeah, I want this money, I want to start this business, or I just want to pay off this, this debt. And, you loan them the money to pay off a debt or something, for example, and you find out they didn't pay off the debt at all, and they took the money and put it all on the horses, Deceived, disappointed by somebody who you loaned money to can be an outcome of Neptune retrograde. So, we used to see, when we'd see people living on the streets, which is tragic and becoming much more prevalent in Western countries because of our hideous neoliberal culture that we have, and nobody seems to be doing anything to stop it, which is so disappointing. But that aside, whenever I was young and we used to see somebody living on the street or begging for money, we were always told, don't give them the money, just in case they go buy drugs with it or something, abuse themselves further with the money that you've given them. Go buy them a meal. Take them into a nearby cafe, buy them a salad sandwich and a hot coffee, and, do some sort of charity, Neptune energy, that is much more realistic and tangible rather than loaning money and you not knowing what it's going to. Or maybe they're freezing and they need a blanket, that's what we're talking about. Do the practical charity at this time. Don't just throw money out into thin air. You could end up being deceived or swindled in some way. So be very careful who you loan money to or give money to, or in better case scenario, don't give money at all. Give tangible items that are going to help the person in need in a practical way. You might also not be seeing financial situations clearly. I've already talked about that. But the second house is also food, shelter, the things we need, clothing, material things that we need to survive, as I've mentioned. You mightn't be seeing your situation with your food clearly or shelter clearly. Now, Neptune rules toxins, and you might think, I'm just going to buy this processed meal from the supermarket, and you're not seeing clearly that it's actually full of toxins and it's bad for you. Neptune is toxins, retrograding in the house of food. You mightn't be seeing what you're eating clearly. There's so many things to avoid these days. As in 100 years ago, a good diet consisted of pure things straight from either the farm, fruit, veg, eggs, meat, butter, milk, pure things straight from the farm. These days, the 90% of the supermarket is all processed bullshit. And this is, we ask, why are we having health issues? Why are people obese? Oh, not because of the processed foods. Oh, no, it's because we're eating too much dairy, and we're eating full fat cream, and, we're eating red meat, and for shame. Well, they've been our diet for thousands and thousands of years, and it's only now that we've got processed food and everybody's sick and fat and unwell. Sorry, I've gone off on my tangent here. Forgot my point. But we need to get clear about what we're eating. And Neptune retrograde is not an easy time to get clear about what you're eating. You might be eating more toxins than you realize. You might be deceived, thinking what you're eating is a health food. Hello, almond milk. But it's full of preservatives and all sorts of additives and things they've put into it. And you think you're being healthy. Be very careful I just encourage you, Aquarius, do your research into all the foods that you're eating, and try your best during this Neptune retrograde in your second house to eat pure and clean and straight from the farm where you can. Straight from the farm, not processed, and you'll do so much better in the long run. Yes, but the same goes for the clothing that you wear. Does it smell like synthetic? Does it smell like it's oil based? Like you order some cheap clothes from those websites and stuff, and they come in and they stink like some chemical or toxin. You're going to wear that on your skin. Again, Neptune is toxins in the house of clothing. Oh, my beautiful Aquarius friends, you need to spend the next 5 to 6 months really analyzing and researching the resources in your life and how pure they are and how good they are for you, and then make choices that are for your benefit, and make choices for yourself because you value your health, you value your well-being, you value your ability to thrive in the world. This is the house of what we value. So you might be really doing some reanalysis of what is toxic and getting rid of that out of your life over the next 6 months. So my beautiful friends, thank you so much for sticking with me for this rather long video. I hope it's a blessing to you, and I hope that Neptune retrograde you're all prepared for and going to get the most out of it that you can in the best possible way. I'll catch you next week with another Astro Weather Report.